I have to go with the time.
Mhm.
I still will keep my ground and my base where I still be educated and keep my experience, but I'm with the time too. I want to see what AI have to offer and incorporate both because one is going to make it easier for us as provider.
Welcome to the Beauty Talk podcast, where we feature how the best medical practitioners help their patients to look better, younger, and healthier. Now, enjoy the show, and here's your host.
Daniel Gao here. I'm the host of Beauty Talk. We feature the top medical practitioners in health and beauty, both inside and out. I have Davine Lapaix, a medical esthetician with over a decade of experience in the aesthetic field and author of Healthy Eating, Where Your Body is a Temple. Her expertise extends beyond skincare, phlebotomy, body contouring specialist, and also nutrition. So, Davine, welcome and glad to have you here.
Welcome, Daniel.
Yeah, so let's dive right into it. Tell me, how did you first get interested in the medical field? Let's call it.
So I actually had owned and operated a health food restaurant back in my hometown, Jamaica.
Mhm.
And after operating the restaurant, I realized that a lot of people, what they eat is a reflection on their skin. So then that gave me a little dive into going back to school and studying aesthetics. And then I opened my first med spa in Jamaica in 2016.
Wow. Okay. And so, kind of, what led you from having your med spa in Jamaica to now having your med spa in New York?
So I came here by default
Mhm.
and in the middle of COVID, and the world didn't know what was going on. So I stayed,
Mhm.
and that's how I stayed in New York.
Okay. Now, I want to dive into some of the services and treatments that you offer, Davine. What I want to go dive into is the skincare using microneedling. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that? Like, what is microneedling for people who have no idea what microneedling is?
So for someone who has no knowledge of what microneedling is, in layman term, it's a method or a technique that you could use a stamp, you could use a pen, you could use a roller, and it creates small tiny channels to the skin that stimulates the epidermis to produce collagen.
Mhm.
So it's and when the body produces collagen, it helps with anti-aging, it helps with fine line, it helps with wrinkles, it helps with hyperpigmentation, and that's what microneedling is.
Okay, so basically, is it basically you're kind of causing small, I guess, damage to the skin so that it recovers
Small
better?
injuries,
Small what?
small injuries.
Injuries to skin. Okay,
Yes.
so that when it heals back even better.
That's not the concept of it. The
Mhm.
small injuries, it signals the body to produce more collagen. And
Mm.
by you producing collagen, that's what helps to enhance the productivity of the skin. So collagen is really the protein that the skin produce.
Mhm.
So when you're doing microneedling, if you increase your intake of protein that period of time, that will also help with better result from the procedure of microneedling.
Okay. And you mentioned that it can fix a whole lot of different things. So it seems like it's a pretty wide-ranging treatment that
Yeah,
it can solve a lot.
microneedling is that girl for skincare.
Okay. Now, when it comes to people coming in to see you, like what situations would microneedling kind of be the best fit for them? Is it when they have some of those issues you mentioned, or are there certain skin types that it's going to work better with than others?
With microneedling, it's one of the few procedures that works very well for all Fitzpatrick scale.
Mm.
So richly melanated skin, microneedling works good for them. For light skin, for white, it works very, very good for them.
Mhm.
So when you're doing the treatment, it's best for people who have acne scars, not inflamed acne, but acne scars, hyperpigmentation, people who don't want to go to the process of start doing Botox, microneedling is a procedure that can help with the fine line and the wrinkles in your face.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the skin, you mentioned the Fitzpatrick scale. Like, can you explain it to someone who has no idea what that is?
Um, Fitzpatrick scale is basically the shade of which your colors fall under. So you have lighter to darker.
Hmm.
So not every form of aesthetics procedure is suitable for all skin Fitzpatrick scales.
Hmm. Okay. And so, what would be some of those examples? Like, if someone has a darker a skin tone versus a lighter skin tone, what are some of the things that each side would kind of have to be more aware of, and the types of treatments that may or may not be good for their skin?
Like for a person with rich melanated skin, certain laser treatment are not best to fix hyperpigmentation.
Mhm.
Certain type of chemical peels, the depth of the chemical peel, the acid, you would have a different form of reaction versus someone with a Fitzpatrick 1 or 2 or 3. They're more suitable candidate for those form of treatment.
Okay. And what are some of the other treatments that your patients and your clients come to you for?
Body contouring is a popular treatment. Wood therapy is also a popular treatment. Where it's a season for hydrofacial is a very
Mhm.
popular treatment.
Mhm.
Um, we specialize in corrective skincare and building back your skin barrier.
Hmm. How do you go about building back the skin barrier?
Hydration,
Mhm.
consistency, doing less. A lot of people think that doing more build back your skin barrier, but
Mhm.
less is more.
Okay. Now, you mentioned hydration. So when I'm thinking about hydration, I'm thinking about maybe creams, maybe lotions. Is that kind of what you mean, or is there a lot more to it than just that?
Um, Hydration has to do with, you said cream lotion. Moisture is a form of hydration, and water is also a form of hydration.
Now, water on the skin or water drinking it or
The
both?
intaking of water.
Okay. Okay. Guys,
Yes.
making sure that your body
Um,
stays hydrated.
yes. Say, take for example, you were running and you got really, really tired.
Mhm.
What do you get? Dehydrated. So you
Mhm.
need some form of influx of water to intake to give you back that flush. So it's
Mhm.
almost the same thing with the skin.
Okay. Okay. Now, you mentioned also before, like your experiences in having a healthy food restaurant. So, and now that you've made this transition over to the aesthetic side, I'm curious because you have a little bit more of this perspective that I would say most other medical spa providers. But how important is it that you eat good food and you hydrate well that's going to affect your skin?
Your skin is the largest organ of your body, so you're what you eat.
Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to like the types of food, is are there certain foods that it's this
Yes,
food you should be
yes.
eating or
Every single food and fruits, there are nutritional values to the skin. You could get vitamin C from there, which are what we use in like serums and creams and moisturizer. You could get your vitamin K from your fruits and vegetable. Even hyaluronic acid, which we use a lot in microneedling. The body produce hyaluronic acid naturally. It just doesn't produce enough. That's why we inject it or we use it as a serum.
Mhm. Okay. And so are there some so like certain foods that you highly recommend people should be eating, or is it more of like make sure you stay away from these foods? Like what's like the good and the bads that like stay away from these and then these ones you should definitely include?
Um, I would not necessarily say food, more type or method of how the food is prepared.
Interesting.
So stay away from fried food.
Hmm.
So try to have like baked chicken, eat more legumes for your protein if you can. Have more fruits and vegetable if you can. It depends on what you're trying to achieve
Hmm.
because you don't want to say, okay, I'm gonna stick to carbohydrate and then I'm deficiency in my protein. So balance is key,
Mhm.
just the method of how the food is being prepared.
Okay. And I'm guessing it's going to be more whole foods, not processed foods, not junk food. I'm
Yes,
assuming.
so stay away from fried food, stay away from fries,
Mhm.
fast food. Try to have more, as you said, protein, vegetables, boiled food, baked food, grilled food, that form of thing.
Okay. So method of preparation and also balanced diet. So don't just
Yes,
focus on only one thing. You want to have fruits, vegetables, certain proteins,
protein,
meat. Yeah.
carbohydrates, vitamins.
Okay, got it. Now, when it comes to skincare and kind of the treatments that you offer, what are some of the most common misconceptions you hear from your clients, from your patients about these treatments that you offer?
They think that it's a miracle.
Mm.
It's a one size fit all, or I want it done now.
Mm. Okay. And so then how do you have to change those expectations for them?
Skincare is consistency, patience, and trust in your provider.
Mm, okay. And let's say, like, when it comes to products, I think products also play a big role in the health of your skin, but there's so many products out there. How does people know, like, what they should do when it comes to products? You said like less is more, but are there certain things that you would recommend to them to keep an eye out for, like certain products or certain ingredients in the products to stay away from or to look for?
So that's why one size doesn't fit all.
Mm,
So there are a lot of providers now that we do virtual consultation. So the first thing we have to do is skin analysis because what fit me not gonna fit you. So because diet, way of life, your environment, your stress level, all of that have to do with your skin. So I could use a cleanser and it worked for my skin. You use the same cleanser. It's not going to work because we're two different individual with everything, with our way of life, with our skin tone, with our diet, with our environment, with our level of stress. So all of that have to be done in a consultation. And then after the consultation, we could go with a skincare routine from then.
Okay. Now, let's say that somebody is looking for help. They want to get these treatments done, but they've never been to a med spa before. They don't know which provider to choose. What's the most important piece of advice you can give to this person to help them be able to find the right provider who has the experience, who has the knowledge, and ultimately can help them get what they're looking for?
So do your research, do your review. Most individual have an idea of their skin type. So you go on Google, social media, you do extensive research and see what is related to you.
Mm.
And when you find what is related to you, you pick your top three and you give them a call. And based on energy, based on vibes, you book an appointment, you go in and you start from there.
Okay. And when it comes to consultations, I, I'm assuming that the consultation is like one of the most important pieces to figure out if you're gonna vibe with this provider, if you're gonna get along with them. Would you kind of agree with that, or are there
Yes,
some other
yes,
things they
yes,
should be looking
yes,
for?
yes.
Mhm. Okay, so look at the consultation then. What about type of product, maybe like that, if that practice is used, like is that something that the average person should be aware of, like what type of products they use, like if they're FDA cleared, anything along those lines?
I'm gonna get a lot of kickback from
Uh,
this, but there's no such thing as FDA approved or clinical skincare products. It's just that there are some brands who are bigger than some and they're more popular than some. You have some simple brands that are not as large as those bigger brands, that the ingredients are more potent than the ones that are big brand. So the most important thing is to make sure that you have an idea of what ingredients and the percentage of the ingredients that is supposed to be within the product that the professional is using on you.
Okay. Now, when it comes to educating your patients on the benefits of these treatments, how do you approach the educational component of it? Like, I'm sure you get a lot of people coming in, they just have no idea. And I'm sure you have other people coming in, they have a much better idea. But how do you approach the overall education part?
So my consultation form is very, very detailed. It asks you a lot of questions. So after filling out the consultation form, we have a one-on-one conversation. And after having the one-on-one conversation, I explain everything in details.
Mhm.
If you don't understand, you ask a question. I also ensure that I always send you home with a post-care regimen because in-house is 30%,
Mhm.
post-care is 70.
Mm.
Even for microneedling, the first 12 to 48 hours is the most crucial period because the pores are open. So what you do when you go home is very, very crucial.
Okay. And what is it the most important thing when they go home after these treatments, I think, to be aware of to make sure they get the most out of it?
um, how they care for the treatment. Most people, once they do a facial treatment, they want to go to the gym. They want to put on makeup. They want to sweat. They want to go to the sauna. They want to take a hot shower. Um, all of that is a no.
Mhm. Okay, good to know. Now, what role do you believe creativity plays in how you approach your patient care?
Very great role.
Mhm.
You
To do
have to
something.
be, you have to be very, I call it customization. So each customers are an individual, but they're unique. So you have to customize each skincare routine to fit their needs.
Mm, okay. Okay. Now, uh, Davine, I'm sure that throughout your experience, you've had some maybe tough cases or maybe even some challenging cases that you've had to work on. Is there maybe one story that comes to mind that you can share of just one of those cases and ultimately how you were able to get them a successful outcome in the end?
Um, Over the years, I've had a lot of, not a lot, but I've had, um, persons who are not familiar, um, with certain treatments. So they come for a corrective skincare treatment and they would like, because I always tell them, my channel is open. So especially if there's their first time, I always tell them what to expect. But I would be like, okay, your skin might purge, so don't be alarmed. But when I told them, they never know that it was literally gonna purge. So
Uh-huh.
they're calling me, oh, is this normal? I'm like, yes, it's normal. I told you. And I said, how long is this gonna work take? I said, the procedure normally takes, that's why we give you 4 to 6 weeks to come back because the skin turnover after 3 weeks. So you have to give it time. And they start freaking out after the first 2, 3 days. But when the actual process is finished, they send in me photos like, oh, this is what it looks like. I was so freaked out. I didn't know it would go away. I was like, that's why you have to trust the process because they think it's a one fix.
Mhm.
But those scars were there 20 years ago.
Mhm.
So I'm good, but I'm not a magician. I can't do it in 2 days, 3 days. It
Yeah.
takes time.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Good to know. Now, Davine, where do you think the future of aesthetics is going?
Bright future. It's the way of life. Now, as we talk about first, the first thing is consultation. With the new way of aesthetics, normally I would come in, sit, and do a consultation with you.
Mhm.
There are now monitors, robots. You just put your face in, and
Mhm.
it gives us everything from the epidermis to the dermis to everything you have been through on a screen, and we make an assessment there.
Mhm.
The aesthetic schools,
Mhm.
they are now implementing robots.
Mhm.
to be a part of the classroom.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So just like everywhere else, aesthetics is moving to AI.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's probably going to upend it in some way, but it's going to be very interesting how the next couple of years play out with it.
Yes, it's everything in technology is moving towards AI, and aesthetics is no different. We're on that part. So we as providers just have to stick to the ground because you can't, with AI, it will make mistake, just like human. But being hands-on and know how the skin really operate, I'm not sure if AI is ready for that as yet. Because
Okay.
a lot of things that estheticians learn in school, that's not what is taught in the treatment room. Other esthetician can agree to me. What you learn in the treatment room versus what you face at school are night and day.
Okay. And with that
Because it,
future,
because
yeah.
it, like you learned about like acne scars and eczema and stuff like that in school, but most time they don't show you what a combination looks like on a skin.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were taught one thing and then when you show up in the treatment room and as a different lesion, if you're not experienced, you're not going to know how to treat it
Okay.
because you were taught it in a different heading, not in a combination setting.
Okay. So the education can be another big part of when people have to think about what provider they're going to go to. What was their education?
And their hands-on experience, because a lot of provider in the field could attest that the treatment room and what you're taught are two different. They go hands in on, but experience outweigh literature any day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And with that future in mind, I mean, what's your vision for your practice, Pure Divinity?
Um, I have to go with the time.
Mm-hmm.
I still will keep my ground and my base where I still be educated and keep my experience, but I'm with the time too. I want to see what AI have to offer and incorporate both because one is going to make it easier for us as provider and even the clients.
Mm-hmm.
We could do a more virtual consultation, fix your skin from your home, that you come in once a month or twice a month, because at home is where your skin really begins.
Okay. Okay. Well, Davine, I have one last question for you, but before I ask it, I do want to point people to your website at puredivinitymedspa.com.
Yes.
Now, last question for you. What does beauty mean to you?
Beauty is inside out. You are what you eat. You is the first beauty is the first um energy that you present to someone. So you
Okay.
must always ensure that when you show up at your best. Don't care how bad it is, put God first and always show up at your best.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Davine sharing your expertise. So, Davine, where can people contact you in your practice?
We are located at 461 Rockaway Avenue, Valley Stream, New York. That's 461 Rockaway Avenue, Valley Stream, New York. Our telephone number is 929-433-5305. So our telephone number is 433-5305. And our social media handles are Facebook and Instagram, Pure Divinity Skincare. That's one word. Our TikTok is Pure Divinity Med Spa. And our website is puredivinitymedspa.com.
Okay, great. Well, Davine, this is great. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your message.
Thank you. Nice having you, me.
Thanks for listening to the Beauty Talk podcast. Any questions, please contact the practice directly with the contact information provided during the show. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.